Okay, Rabbi say welcome. Great to have everybody here. As we're sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Zeben here, Daya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas God, Yosef Ben Tzim Ben Yaakov Zebel, for Shalema for Moshe Ari Ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch for Chayat Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We learned for a great shidduch for Batya Bas Sarah. We learned sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKohen, the Fud Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. And we learn that all those that are waiting for a baby should have a healthy baby, healthy mommy, and especially Ariel and Lior Bas Elza Rivka. We learn also for the Refuah Shalema of Yosef Shmuel Ben Miriam, for Gesund and everything wonderful. We ask everybody to have in mind for Yochai Ben Ruchama, Chai Freda Bas Rachel Rivka, Mordechai Tzvi Ben Ruschana, Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fradel, Chevra Adaf, Aaron Ben Sarah, Nachman Yaakov Ben Sarah, Nechama Sarah Bas Miriam. They should have a Refuah Shalema B'Sech Shachar Yisrael. We are holding on Daf Zayin Amid Beis, and we are holding by Umi, 3 lines from the bottom. We said that Rabbi Eliezer holds that the sacrifice is not good if the blood is caught in more than one keli. So the Gemara says, "Miyama Rabbi Eliezer hachi." Do Rabbi Eliezer say this? V'itmar chavite kohen gadol. That's the mincha that the kohen gadol brings every day. 6 loaves in the morning, 6 loaves in the afternoon. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eina Kedosha L'Chatzayin. The Asira Sa'efa, you can't put half in one keli and half in the other keli. Rabbi Eliezer Amar Mitoch Sheker L'Chatzayin, since it's offered in halves, Kedosha L'Chatzayin, it could be sanctified in halves, right? Because it's offered half in the morning and half in the evening. But if he holds that the blood can't be put in 2 separate kelim, you should learn out from blood. So you'll say, you know what? Maybe Rabbi Eliezer holds you don't learn one thing from the other. But we know that that's not true. A mincha that the kmitza was taken instead of taking the kmitza in the standard place in the Azara. Berish went ahead and took the kmitza in the heichel. He went into the kodesh kshera. Why? Because remember we said removing the bazichen from the shulchan is tantamount to kmitza. Shekem matzina basilik bazichen. We find that you could remove the bazichen from the shulchan, which is analogous to kmitza. So you see it could be done in the kodesh. So you see that Rabbi Eliezer does learn one thing from another. So the Gemara says, yeah, mincha yalef, one mincha from another mincha, because the lechem apanim on the shulchan is also a mincha yalef. Mincha medam, but a mincha from blood, lo yalef. Says the Gemara, mincha mi yalef. Does Rabbi Eliezer learn out one mincha from another mincha? Hold everything. Does he learn out one mincha from another mincha? Vatanya, ad shaloi pirka. If before they took the loaves off the shulchan, nifris lachma, if one of the loaves broke, halechem pasul, all 12 loaves are pasul, ve'ein maktir alav es habazichem, and you can't smoke up the sensifuls of the vina. Misheparka, if after you removed the bread from the shulchan it broke, nifris lachner, halechem puzzle, the 12 loaves are puzzle, but umaktir alavis abazichin. Says the Gemara, and Amar Rabbi Elazar says that that when it was removed from the table, it doesn't mean that it had to be actually removed. Well, it means that it came the time for it to be removed on Shabbos. Amar Rabbi Elazar, loy parka mamish, elakaven shegia zmana lifraik. When it came the time to remove it from the table, then even if you didn't remove it yet, afal pisha loy parka kamisha parka damya, the bread will become disqualified, but you would be able to smoke up the bezichin. But the Gemara says if you compare mincha to mincha, v'amai, to have a mincha shechasra kodim kamitza, it should be like a mincha who the rest of the mincha, some of it is missing before the kamitza, and that's no good. Says the Gemara, well, that's not a problem, because it's not the same thing, kamitza and the bezichin. The kamitza is not defined. Until we take it, we don't know what part of the mincha you're going to use. Halay kasha mincha loy barer. It's not clear where the kamitza is going to come from. Loy barer breira kaimitz didei. It's not defined where is it going to be the handful. But we know that the sensifuls of frankincense, we know them, they're sitting there. And therefore, since it comes the time for it to be removed, and it's defined what it is, command the parkadami. It's as if you took it off already. Says the Gemara, Alamiyata, but we should have a problem to have a kishirayim shekasu ben kmitza laktara. It should be like a case where after you do the kmitza, some of the shirayim got lost, or some of the shirayim got burnt. The din is you can't smoke up the kmitza. So here also, even if after you remove the bread breaks, it should be like the shirayim is missing, and you shouldn't be able to smoke up the levina. Says the Gemara, la plukteninu. This question, if some of the shirayim is missing between the kmitza and aktara, is a machlokes. Rebbe Elazar savala command yama shirayim shechasu ben kmitza aktara, that if some of the remnant is missing in between the kmitza and aktara, makter kaimitz aleim, you could do the aktara. So here also, if the bread breaks after it was removed from the shulchan, you could smoke up the frankincense.
Why do they use frankincense as opposed to any other spice?
It's something chashiv. Frankincense is something chashiv.
The other spices which make up the ketoros are not chashiv?
Why particularly that one? Yeah. I can't tell you right now. Gufa, we said, Chavite Kohen Gadol, the griddle cakes of the Kohen Gadol, which are offered 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eina Kedaisha L'Chatzayin. Rabbi Yochanan says that if you put half of the isarin in one keli and half of the isarin in the other keli, it doesn't become sanctified. Rabbi Elazar, I remember, since it's brought in halves, Kedaisha L'Chatzayin. So the Gemara says, what's the reason of Rabbi Yochanan? Amar Rab Acha, my time with Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Rabbi Yochanan say that it's not sanctified in halves? So the Gemara says, Amakra mincha machatzisa. Mincha, it's a meal offering which you should split. Meaning, heavy mincha, bring it whole, and then afterwards divide. Beisvei, Chavite Kohen Gadol lo yabayis chatzayin. The Chavite Kohen Gadol could not be brought in halves. Elamevi Isaran Shalom, you bring a whole Isaran, v'chaytzeyu, and you have it. V'tanya, ilu nemar mincha machatzis, mincha half, hayisi aimer, maybe chatzi Isar mebeisa shachris, or makriv, you bring half in the morning, chatzi Isar mebeisa aris, and bring half for the afternoon, or makriv. Talmud leimer machatzisa, mincha, and then half it. But machatzisa, half of it, machatzisa baboiker. What does it mean, machatzisa baboiker? Machsa mishalom umevi. He brings a half from the whole. So that's a kasha in Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar says you could bring half. Says the Gemara, well, Rabbi Lazar will interpret this only the mitzvah, that this is the preferable way to do it. But if you do it in halves, it's okay. You can't say it's preferable. Remember, I told you there's code words where it has to be that way. And one of the code words, kacha is a code word, yiyah is a code word. One of the code words is a chukah. Says the Gemara, oh, look at this. People are waiting. I'm not letting them in. What a host I am. Amalei Rav Gvia mebei kasel Rav Ashi v'chuka ksivba, and chuka means that not that it's preferable, that it has to be that way. Amalei, so he says no. Rabbi Lazar will learn what has to be is you have to bring it whole. The Kohen Gadol has to bring it whole, the holy son from his house. But then he could split it in two separate kleisharises. Lo nitzcha lo vio shalom mebeisai. Says the Gemara. Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Is this Rabbi Yochanan's opinion? Va'itmar hifrish chatzi isaron. If he separates a half of isaron and puts it in a keli, v'daitoi lahoisif, and he has in mind to add to it and complete it, Rav Amar Ein Kaddish. Rav says it's not sanctified yet until you put in the full amount. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kaddish. So you see, Rabbi Yochanan holds that if you put in half, it's sanctified. Says Gemara. Now that's different. Vim Isa, but according to you, Leilaf mechavitin. We should learn out from the chavitin, just like the chavitin. It's not sanctified if you only put in half. So here also it shouldn't be sanctified if you put in half. So the Gemara says straight out, this is different. He's planning to put the whole thing. If you're planning to put the whole thing in it, then piecemeal, it becomes Kaddish. First, the Gemara says maybe Rabbi Yochanan doesn't learn one thing from another. But that's not true. Shlamim that are slaughtered inside the heichel is kosher. That's interesting. Shlamim is, we know, is kachim kalim. It's called Mokum Ba'azara. But what if Berish brings the shlamim into the Kaidish and shechts it in the Kaidish? So the Gemara says it's kosher. Dichsiv v'shachtu Pesach oil ma'id. You shecht it by the door of the oil ma'id. So if the fact that it's by the door of the oil ma'id makes it good, then in the oil ma'id it will surely be good. That which is secondary shouldn't be more than the main thing. If it's kosher because it's Pesach Oil Ma'id, so surely in the Oil Ma'id it's good. So you see that Rabbi Yochanan learns out from outside to inside. Says Gemara, as I told you, it's different. He holds if you put half in one keli and half in another keli, it's no good. But if you put half and you're planning to complete it, that's good. Lahoisiv shani. The Tanya, it says, Malayim, full of silas, ein malayim ela shleimim. It's malayim means that it has to be complete. V'amar Reb Yosi ein masay bizman she'ein daitei lahoisiv. That's only if you don't plan on completing it. Aval bizman she'daitei lahoisiv, but if you plan on completing it, then Rishon Kaddish, as you put it in, it becomes sanctified. So now the Gemara says, V'Rav b'chavitim kaman svirle. Rav, that says, got to get people muted over here. Okay. Okay. V'Rav, says the Gemara, V'Rav, remember Rav says that if you put half in the keli, it doesn't become kaddish. So V'Rav b'chavitin kaman svirle. Ika Rabbi Lazar, if he holds like Rabbi Lazar, if you put half in one and half in another, it's good. Leilaf mechavitim. Says the Gemara, well, perhaps, the Chitema, Rav doesn't learn one thing from another. This is it's an unusual thing that all of a sudden on this daf, we're suggesting that Rav all over Shas doesn't learn one thing from another thing. It's really kind of strange. It says you have a Chitema, Rav milsim and milsa lo yalif. V'ama Rav says, Mincha Kedusha B'loi Shemen. If you put flour in a keli without oil, it's sanctified. Why? Shekein Malatzino B'lechem Apanim. You find that the Lechem Apanim is sanctified on the Shulchan even though it doesn't have oil. B'loi Levana, if you put flour in a keli without frankincense, it's sanctified. Shekein Malatzino B'minchas Nesachim. You find by the mincha of the libations there was no frankincense. B'loi shemen or b'loi levain, if you just put straight flour, it's sanctified. Shekei motzinu b'minchas chaytei. Says, you're right. Rav, who says that if you put in half, it's not sanctified, he holds like Rabbi Yochanan. Al kacher Rav ka Rabbi Yochanan svirle. Now, let's study this statement of Rav. Gufa, Amar Rav, mincha kedaisha b'loi shemen. A mincha, that you put the flour in the keli before you introduce the oil, it becomes sanctified. Shekein matzina b'lechem apanim b'loi levaina. If it's sanctified even before you put in frankincense. Shekein matzina b'minchas nesachim. B'loi shemen or b'loi levaina, without shemen or without levaina. Shekei matzina b'minchas chaytei. Says the Gemara, v'shemen ulevana, and if you just put in oil, or you just put in levona, kache, high b'loi high, v'high b'loi high. Each one without the other. Now why? Shemen, because we see oil is sanctified by the loig shemen of the Metzayra. Shekei matzina b'loig shemen shel Metzayra. Levaina is sanctified. Shekei matzina b'levaina baba bazichen. The spoonfuls of the levaina by the lechem apanim. Reb Chanina Amar. Reb Chanina says, as we turn to Daf Ches Amid Beis, Laizu kedaisha b'laizu. Oil cannot be sanctified without levaina. B'laizu kedaisha b'laizu. A mincha is only if it has all of its ingredients. Standard mincha, it's only if it has the flour, the oil, and the levaina. So ask the Gemara, then according to Rabbi Chanina, the isaron that holds just flour, Rabbi Chanina isaron lama nimshach. Why did they have to anoint it with the shemen hamishcha? It can't sanctify because it only has flour, and flour alone without oil and levaina is not good. Says the Gemara. The answer is obvious. We sanctified because of the minchas chayte. The minchas chayte is talking about flour with oil, without oil and without levaina. Answers the Gemara, the minchas chayte. The loig lama nishchach, and the loig measured the oil. If you could only have it if you have oil, frankincense, and flour, why did the measuring vessel of the loig have to be anointed? This is also obvious because of the loig shemen of the Mitzayra. The loig lama nimshach, because of the loig shel Mitzayra. Now, before I go any further, we have this wonderful crowd over here of 33 Zoomers. It's really, really amazing. Irving Fishbaum, Baruch Ian braved tons of sun in order to come out. Although I heard that certain places of Florida last night had snow, a dusting, but it was snow. Dr. Guy, Yaakov Warman, Yitzi Fuchs, A.B. Spry, Eddie Chazan, Saba, Michael, Shalom Fogel, Reb Shlomo Schmidt, it's great to have you. Ruvain Palak, Chaim Lerner, Chaim, it's wonderful to have you. Barry Cement, Dr. Black, Shimon Klein, Menachem Umansky, Mark Frankel, keeping up a sterling record, Mo Kushner, Itchy, Nachman Chapler, Yisrael Fisher, Rabbi Kranz, Gabriel Epstein, Moshe Lehman, Stephen Holtzman, Abraham Rezepkowitz, Yitzi Muller, Ilya Shutman, Avi Ament, Abe Arbach, and David Helfgott. Here in the shul, we have Berish Gesseman, Gedalia Engel, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram, Danny, Ruvain Shannon, and Rebellia. And Iran is here as well. Here we got another niner tonight. Another niner tonight. It's unbelievable. The elusive 10th man. Isn't that something? Shlomi would be here. We would have 10. Shlomi's in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. I guess we lost our young friend. It wasn't sustainable, obviously. Now, who else are we missing here tonight? You know what? I'll take a little cold water if there is, please. Says the Gemara, Ba'af Shmuel Savala Laha Derav. Shmuel also holds that the opinion of Rav, that flour, if you put it in alone, it can become sanctified. The Tanan, Klei Alach, we learned this recently in the Mishnah Yaimas, Klei Alach Mekachin Es Alach, that a liquid measure sanctifies liquid measure. Umidas hayavesh mekatrin es hayavesh, and dry measures sanctify dry measures. But the ein klei alach mekatrin es hayavesh, a liquid measure doesn't sanctify something dry. V'loi midas hayavesh, and something dry is not mekatrin es alach, is not mekadish liquid. V'amar Shmuel says when we restrict it, that it can't be a swing player and be mekadosh both, leishanu ela midos. That's only measuring vessels. Aval mizrakais, but the bowls that we catch the blood in, mekadosh sesayavish, could be mekadosh dry. Shenema shneim aleim silas, two the silver bowls, both of them full of fine flour, belulah shemen lemincha. So you see the bowl, which is used to catch blood, is mekadosh dry the flour. Amalei Ravachim Adifti Ravina, no, that's no raya. Because the soles is considered moist because it has oil. Mincha leichahi. Amalei, so he says that what he's saying is le'nitzucha el liyavei sheba, that the mizrak can be mekadosh even the dry particles in it. V'bayasema, or else he calls it dry because relative to blood, the mincha is called dry. V'bayasema, mincha l'gabe dam kiyavesh dami. It's like dry. Kufa. Thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro.
Amen.
Gufa, Amar Rabbi Lazar, getting back to Berish. Mincha shekamtza beheichel ksheira. If he takes the kmitza in the heichel, instead of doing it in the azara, Berish, that's what he's supposed to do. What are you going into the kodesh for? Berish always likes to go to the holier places, right? So mincha that he does in the heichel is kosher. Why? Because we said that the removal of the bazichen from the shulchan is tantamount to a kmitza, and that's done inside the kodesh. Shekem atzinu b'siluk bazichen. So the Gemara says, Masav Rabbi Yirmiyah, we learned that the pasuk says v'kamatz misham, you should take from there, and we darshan from there means from where the raglei of the bailam stand. The bailam, Yisrael is allowed to stand only in the first 11 amas of the Azara, and as is Yisrael. V'kamatz misham mimakom sheraglei azar oimdais. So it seems to be it has to be in the Azara and not in the Kodesh. Ben Meseira says we learn out something else from the Kamatz Misham. This is just a review of what we learned yesterday. Menayin Shim Kamatz B'Smel, that if you messed up, who would do that? Barry. If Barry took the Kmitza with his left hand, he could put it back in and do it with his right hand. How do we know that? Talmud Laima v'kamatz misham. He could take the kmitza from there, from where it was originally. Mamakom shekamatz kvar, from where he already did. So, but the question is, it says v'kamatz misham only from the place where the Raglei Yisrael are standing. The first 11 amas, not inside the Kodesh. So Ikadame, some say who ma'asav lo v'hu mefarik. He asked the question and he answered it. And Ikadamre Amalei Rabbi Yaakov lo Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yaakov said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, Bar Tachlifa. Rabbi Yirmiyah was the son of Tachlifa. Bar Tachlifa, Azberulach. That pasuk is just coming to tell me. That pasuk is telling me a chiddush that you could do the kmitza even when it's not in the north of the mizbeach, because there's a very big argument that the kmitza should be in the north, because the kmitza mincha is kodesh kodashim, and kachay kachim are supposed to be in the north. Shaloi taimer hayil va'ayla kachay kachim. Oil is kachay kachim, mincha kachay kachim, ma oil tuna tzafin. It has to be only on the north of the mizbeach. Af mincha tuna tzafin. It needs to be north. So it comes to tell us, no, even with the 11 amas in the beginning of the Azara, anywhere, it's okay. Says Gemara, I'm sorry, but how are you learning out mincha from oil? Says Gemara, mal oil sheken kolav. The oil is completely burnt on the mizbeach. Maybe that's why it needs north. Says, no, but mechatos, well, now for the chatos that needs north, and that's not burnt totally on the mizbeach. Says, yeah, but you can't learn out from chatos. Maybe it needs north because it's machaper when Barry eats chaylev, when Barry eats dam, when Barry sleeps with his sister, when Barry's mechal Shabbos, all kinds of different things, right? It's a machaper. As we bring in Elliot Yudel for our 34th Zoomer of the evening. Says, we'll learn out from Ashim. Ashim is not chorus. It's for me'ilah, for trespass. That's only a lav. Says, Ashim shekei minei damin. It's a blood offering. And therefore, that's why it needs north. Mincha is not a blood offering. And therefore, you can't learn out from all three either. You can't learn it out from Ashim, Chatas, and Ayla. Mikulu Nami, you can't learn out from all of them either. Shekei minei damin. Because they're all types of blood offerings. Ella says the Gemara.
Why is that a chumrah if it's a blood offering?
Blood offering is a chumrah because ki adam hu nefesh. The blood is the soul. It's a very chashuv thing. You're doing it instead of your soul. Says the Gemara, El Itzrich, so kedai techamina, hayul iksiv, v'kriva el hakayin. You bring it to the kain. V'gisha el hamizbeach v'kamatz, and he does the mitzvah of agasha to the southwestern corner of the mizbeach. So I would say, so once he touches the southwestern corner of the mizbeach, maybe he has to do it on the southwestern corner, a whole different shot. Not that we're thinking it has to be in the north, but maybe it has to be on the southwestern corner. Ma agasha b'keren droimis maravis, it's on the southwestern corner. Af kmitanami, I might think, b'keren droimis maravis, it's on the southwestern corner. Kamash malon, that we don't say that. Kamash malon, that we don't say that.